Hey everyone, Magic Sword here, and I got angry at a meme on the internet today, so we're going to talk about it. Um, you know, Hearthstone subreddit is always filled with people complaining about the game because, of course, why wouldn't it be? And this meme I felt was a series of half truths that I felt like I needed to weigh in on because I'm opinionated. So let's discuss first the Dark Glare change. They assert it deleted Warlock in Standard. It's still a problem in Wild. Um, so let's handle that. Yeah, Warlock got deleted in Standard. I agree with that. That's true. Warlock is bottom of the barrel, like 43% win rate on average. There's not a single positive win rate deck at Legend. As for saying it's a problem in Wild, not really. Dark Glare doesn't see play in Wild anymore. And Warlock isn't like a huge problem either, from what I can tell. Maybe it's like a bad feeling to play against. I mostly played that deck when I played Wild, so can't really say for sure. They also assert that the buffs are laughably bad and unimpactful, as always. So we're gonna address that in two parts. First, yeah, the nerfs were pretty low, or the buffs were low impact. They always are. That's by design. Almost always are, I should say. That's by design because when you have impactful nerfs, buffs rather, like Pocket Galaxy. Does anyone remember the Pocket Galaxy meta? That was awful. 5 mana Pocket Galaxy was like the worst thing in the world. I hated that. It was so unfair. It was so bad that they had to revert the buff. So yeah, you have to be more careful with buffs than you do with nerfs, I think, in general. Um, and just another quick impactful buff that wasn't absurdly overtuned was the Aldor Attendant change, where they made it a 1 drop, right? That's incredible. Giving Libram Paladin that consistent 1 drop made it much better, and now it's one of the top decks in this meta, which you can attribute in part to the Aldor change, but admittedly, mostly to the Scholomance stuff. But I digress. That was an impactful buff, right? That was a buff that you notice, you know. So not all buffs are bad. Like this person just like totally ignored, and there are more. I just wanted to keep this segment pretty short. So next up, Jandice. Yeah, I agree with this one entirely. Actually, um, I think the Battlegrounds monetization model in general is bad. I really dislike it. Jandice is powerful in a way that should have been very predictable from a development perspective. Like, um, I misread the hero power initially. In my initial review of it, I said she looks like she could be good. I think it's a little too random because I, for some reason, thought that you weren't selecting what target you send back into the shop. But of course, if you can pick a guy and just keep like cycling it through the shop and keep buying it and triggering its battle cry, of course that's going to be strong. This is a very predictably powerful effect that I'm not sure how it got through playtesting. As for the other two that were released, I think they're fine. I think they're fun. I think Barov is very fun. The other one, the other Barov. The point to saying forcing free to play players to pay to be competitive, yeah, that's kind of the nature of Battlegrounds right now because you have an actual game advantage from paying for it. Like very literally, you get two extra options, right? I think that's unacceptable. So that's that really. The Wild bundle. So this to me is a very difficult thing to price. It was what, $35 for 56 packs. That's not like an amazing deal. For 56 Wild packs, and that's why it gets tricky, right? Like if it were classic packs and you're new, or if it were like the most recent expansion, like that would be nutty. That would be so good. But it's Wild packs. So this is a bundle for people who started recently and want to get into Wild. That's why this exists. For me, this bundle is worthless, which is why I'm so bad at evaluating what it's actually worth. Let me say this. This person makes the point that it was kept at 8 packs, so you don't hit the 10-pack pity timer. I'm like, I have never had to go open 10 packs and hit that pity timer. Ever. I've never gone through all 10. I've gotten through like 8 and then gotten the legendary. And I was like, oh wow, that took a while, you know? Like consistently I will hit well before that. So people seem to assume that the pity timer is just like a wall. It's not. It's a ramp. After for example, the pity timer for normal legendaries from like 40 packs, it starts ramping up at like 30 and then like really starts ramping up at 35. until you're guaranteed to get one at 40. Um, so most of the time, so while the average is 20, in practice it's lower because you rarely even get past the 35 mark, right? Um, I would guess based on that model, and I'm sorry I don't have it in front of me now, and I don't think I can find it. If I do, I'll put it in. Um, if I had to guess based on that model, you have a less than 50% chance to not get a legendary by 8 packs open. You are actually unlucky if you don't get one. Um, so, over the course of 7 of these expansions, yeah, you're probably going to miss a few. But you can also buy them with gold in the shop if you scroll all the way down. So if you really need to hit that pity timer, if you missed it, which is unlikely, again, can't emphasize that enough, then you can fix it. You can buy an extra pack and then open it and then hit the timer. Or if you don't, you can buy that 10th pack and then you'll be guaranteed one. Because again, this bundle was made, it doesn't exist anymore, for people who aren't in Wild, who haven't been playing since those things were standard, right? These are not for people like me. These are for new people who want to do Wild. So I really appreciate Blizzard trying to make Wild accessible to new people because, frankly, it is kind of naturally inaccessible. Further, I'd like to talk about this is 7 sets of 8 packs, right? So you could have done 8 sets of 7 or 6 sets of 9 for, that's a little bit lower, obviously. It's 54 instead of 56, but those are about the same. They work out about the same. But if you get, for example, 8 sets of 7, you're way less likely to get that legendary. I'd say you're probably less than 50% to get it now, whereas before you were over 50% to get it. And with 6 sets of 9, you're getting fewer packs, although your chance to get the legendary is increased, of course. I think that you start seeing diminishing returns from 8 to 9. So I really do think that this was not a predatory move. I think that that 8 is likely the optimal number to be the most likely to get a legendary for how many packs you're getting in an individual set, if that makes sense. And again, I will find those numbers if I can. So next up is the Book of Heroes. So let me just say, I personally enjoy this adventure, but I totally get why people wouldn't, because it wasn't challenging, like, at all. And I just really like the narrative. I like, Jaina, like, narrating her life, talking about everything she's gone through, because Jaina has a very interesting character arc. And a lot of people are very excited, like, for their favorite Warcraft characters to show up, right? And I don't know, that's just my thing. I like narrative in games. I understand a lot of people aren't like that. And if you're playing a card game, you're probably more like that than the average consumer of video games in general, right? So I kind of get where Blizzard might be, generally speaking, missing the mark with this particular solo adventure. But I think that narrative is at the core of Warcraft. It's an RPG at its core. And I'm glad they're getting back to that. And I think they're glad they're getting back to it too. I think they really want this for Hearthstone to be a little bit more Warcrafty. Because for a while it kind of felt like its own little separate thing, right? To the point of the post here, though, where it says this is the worst single-player content in the history of Hearthstone, I'm assuming that at least part of that statement is due to the fact that it's so short. Well, for the next year, this is going to be our solo content, right? Over the course of the next 12 months, we will receive 9 more chapters. In other words, you can think of this chapter of Jaina as 1/3 of the solo content for this 4-month expansion, right? Because over 12 months, we're getting 9 more things, right? So overall, this comes out comparable to Ashes of Outland, which had 26 challenges. Although, admittedly, Ashes of Outland was more challenging. I liked the narrative a lot less in Ashes of Outland because I found the rhyming couplets grating. I could understand that people saying that this is even a slightly weaker version, even accounting for the fact that this is like 1/3. So let's multiply this thing by 3. Saying that this new multiplied by 3 product is less than Ashes of Outland, I get that too, because Ashes of Outland was actually challenging and it had some fun, interesting little minigame style things that we tend to see in these solo adventures, like with the temple from League of Explorers, right? Like, that was really cool. It wasn't just like a normal Hearthstone match, right? And one advantage this does have over Ashes of Outland, I will say, is that you get a card pack instead of cosmetics. Some people value that more. I personally do. I don't need a Golden Kel'Thus or the card back, right? It's nice that I have it because I'm a collector, not because I want to show it off. So in the sense that you get a card pack, you get actual like something really like tangible for the game. That feels good. So to say that this is outright the worst thing ever, I disagree. Like you can say that it is on your bottom list because you don't value the narrative, or you don't value the or maybe you value those cosmetics more. But I think this is coming from a place of just thinking about like, oh, I only played 8 matches. What the heck? One thing I will say I dislike about the Book of Heroes here, and I'm trying not to turn this into a review of the Book of Heroes, is that for some reason it follows like the dungeon run format where you have like, oh, you need to do these challenges sequentially instead of the Ashes of Outland format where you had like, you can pick each dot along the path. That makes a lot more sense to me. I don't know why they didn't do that, but they did, and we're here. And now let's talk about Scholar Jaina, which is another thing I largely agree with. So, I love the design of Scholar Jaina. I think it's good art. I think, generally speaking, it had a lot of potential. It does not bring nearly enough to the table for a $10 bundle. So maybe you can argue that Magni's $10 and he gets all these animations and stuff, but he doesn't come with packs. Well, I would say Magni's overpriced. I when they released those cosmetics, I was like, what sucker is gonna buy these? Maybe that's just me. I don't value cosmetics nearly as much as most people though, or most Hearthstone players, right? I feel like gamers are like a weird subset where they do value cosmetics a lot more than normal people. But anyway, why don't they use the assets from the adventure? Why is it not Ice Bolt or Frost Bolt or whatever? I think that would be really cool. Or like, why doesn't she have the voice lines or anything? And people keep bringing that up. I really, this is just my tendency now is to, when something doesn't make sense to me, I assume I'm missing information, not that the person who did the thing that doesn't make sense is an idiot. So I would love for Blizzard to give a statement on why they did it, which would either be explaining why it was logistically unlikely or not feasible, or an admission of fault, right? I would like either of those things. I would accept both, right? But anyway, let's talk about those class packs, though. I really dislike class packs as they're being implemented now, which is to say we've only ever gotten the mage one, and it's like limited time availability. So theoretically, a class-specific pack should cost more than a regular one because you're reducing the randomness inherent to pack opening by narrowing it down to 1/9 of the card. Well, not even, because you're eliminating all neutral cards too, right? So, and then, yeah, of course, it's all things in the standard rotation, so the math changes over the course of an expansion, or of a year, rather. But generally speaking, it is always less random. It is sometimes less random. So the issue with class packs is that, let's say you super love mage, you're like, yeah, I love mage, I want this thing, I want this skin and these packs, and you get them, and you're like, yeah, this is so worth $10. Someone that doesn't like mage, maybe they want to collect the cosmetics, but they really don't care about the mage cards. This is an awful deal. I mean, let's assume that they fix all the problems with the skin, right? If you love the class, like, it's necessarily going to be a better deal than if you don't, because you value those items more. But Blizzard has to set a price, and since, like I said, technically these class-specific cards, like on paper, these packs are worth more than a regular pack, for the reasons I said before. But in practice, they're the worth that individuals will ascribe to them vary so wildly that you functionally can't just sell like one kind of class pack at a time. I think what they need to do is they need to start selling class packs. Like, you get to select what class the pack belongs to, and maybe it's like a bundle of 5 of them for whatever price is reasonable, and you just get that, and that's the whole thing, right? Like, you get to choose what class it comes out as. But that's getting a little ahead of myself there. That might be a topic for another video. Heroic Brawleseum. Yeah. This is a mess. This is a whole mess. Okay. So, calling it a gold sink is perhaps not quite accurate. Um, it is true that you lose 300 gold per entrance on average. Actually, you lose a little bit more than that. They're being kind of generous here to Blizzard. And you take away the free pack from normal brawl. I agree, that's a problem. A lot of people like the regular brawl. They'd like to be able to participate. I'm a big fan. I hate the argument of, well, if you don't like the content, don't play it. Like, no, no, don't put bad content in your game. Okay? It is better to omit bad content than it is to put it in and tell people to ignore it. And that applies less to online competitive games where, like, if you don't like a League of Legends champion, don't play it. Sure, that works. If you don't like a whole game mode, don't play it. That still works. Like, people don't play Wild, people don't play Arena, people don't play, whatever. But when the game mode's purpose is expressly to be a casual romp where the normal Hearthstone rules don't apply, and it's supposed to be fun, and it's just supposed to be like you get a free reward for interacting with it, when you turn that into the exact opposite, this is the opposite of a casual experience. This is the opposite of free. This is like basically the single most expensive thing you can purchase other than a battle pass for gold, right? It's just so antithetical to what a Tavern Brawl is. Tavern Brawls are supposed to be free and fun and not just like play standard with people, gamble your money away. So I think a more, and obviously this is the point of these memes. It's supposed to outrage people, and it worked clearly. The high buy-in conjunction with the low floor and the high ceiling is the issue, not the fact that this exists at all. I like I think the regular Brawleseum works really well because the numbers are tuned better. This is absurd. 1,000 gold buy-in for, and let's look at the graph now. Actually, so you have 1,000 gold buy-in until you hit 5 wins. You are not gaining at all. Whereas in Arena, you break even on average. 3 wins, you break even, right? At 5 wins in Arena, you're gaining like quite substantially. Now let's see. Brawleseum, Heroic Brawleseum doesn't overtake Arena for percentage gains until 10 wins, where Brawleseum just starts getting ridiculous. And of course 12 wins is absolutely absurd, right? 50 packs, are you kidding me? Like, no, don't do that. I'm sorry, don't do that. It was a bad idea. It is absurd to expect, just because the average result, if you file these all together, comes out to about the same. That's not acceptable. You need more consistent results. And again, I think it's fine. I think it's fine to basically have a gambling mode if you brand it that way, but you have removed the thing that is supposed to be the safe, casual space for people to play whatever they want, and you just replaced it with the exact opposite. And that's what's not okay. It's very user unfriendly because you had this thing that was like it's generally fun, it's generally casual, and it's just not that anymore. And it's not okay. There's no better way to put it. It is an unacceptable practice to put in here. This is also an endorsement for Arena. I love Arena right now. It's in a really healthy spot, and I think it's very enjoyable. So go play Arena, all you. And if you're new to Arena, make sure you queue against me. Anyway, have a good day. See you guys next time. Like, subscribe, etc., etc. You'll figure it out. Bye bye.